18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
All right, welcome to the Ganja Gospel, everybody. It's right next to me. And, shout out to the network, still talking with Dorkening and all the other Hellfire Radio. Yes. We saw some new ones on there today,
Absolutely, yes. And this is TwizTD RootZ. Yeah. I'm Amber Lalana.
TwizTD RootZ.
And we are all here in the links down in the description below. If you'd like to give some love to any of those links, we'd love it. And welcome to the Ganja Gospel. Fill the pews, light your bowls and your joints. And we're going to learn some truth today.
I'll light my bowl again.
We are on the 13th tablet today.
I know habit.
It's in front of my face.
Camouflage.
Not really, though.
13th tablet. We've learned so much. We've learned about all kinds of cool stuff. We learned about a dude getting pushed down the river in a reed basket. We've learned about how the pyramids were built. We've learned about people being made for slavery again and again and again, always built as slaves until there was finally a time when they built civilized man and had a spot for them, and the first cities and where they went, who was going to be in charge of them, and the passing down of kingship from heaven and the making of the worship, right? So they made the priests and they made it so that people would worship and follow and never forget, the gods, as they were called. And they fought for this, the supreme title, the one title. And in Egypt, they had one god, and he was called Ra. That was always a son of somebody. Then we had another god named God, and he's still the son of another dude. And they're all different guys. Now, in this version here, we're going to hear about the end times. The end times for them. There's 2 episodes left, 2 tablets left in this epic tale. And they have to end up basically where we are today. So let's see how they get there. Let's see what happens.
All right. So the 12th tablet, what we learned and found out about last week.
Cheers it.
I
was talking. Okay. She was supposed to Toking.
It's my bad.
A little bit more. Okay. So after these tablets, though, we'll be breaking down the Sumerian tablets and then going into a timeline of such and sorts. And also, who were these guys talking about? Let's branch off and find out. Well, let's research them and see who's happening. Did you guys see that fucking 30-foot tall door? That fucking door was so tall, dude. No one's. Who's locking the top? Ain't no one locking the top, dude. Why is there a lock up there? Oops. My turn. Cheers, everybody. Strap yourselves in.
All right. So the 12th tablet, guys. Last week, we learned that the soil dries, plains and river valleys are resettled. Plentiful gold comes from the lands beyond the seas. Anu and his spouse Antu arrive for a memorable visit.
Yep.
Reminiscing, the leaders realize they are destiny's pawns, and they allocate 3 regions of civilization to mankind. Pardoned by the departing Anu, Marduk remains rebellious. The first region and space facilities are Enlilite lands. Man's first civilization begins in the first region, Sumer. Marduk usurps a site to build an illicit launch tower. Frustrated by the Enlilites, Marduk seizes the second region. He deposes and exiles Ningazida, otherwise known as Thoth, to distant lands. He declares himself Ra, supreme god in a new religion. He introduces pharaonic reigns to mark a new civilization. Enlil assigns his son Ishkur to protect the metal sources. And Inanna is granted dominion in the third region, the Indus Valley. So that was last week. This week, we're going to find out that royal cities sprout with sacred precincts for the gods.
Yep.
Demigods serve as kings and priests in palaces and temples. Marduk promises his royal followers an eternal afterlife. In Sumer, Inanna encourages belief in resurrection. Celestial omens and foretelling oracles gain followings. Marduk proclaims the coming of age as the ram as his sign, the age of the ram as his sign. Ningazida builds stone observatories to show otherwise. Insurrections, wars, and invasions destabilize Enlilite lands. The mystery emissary appears to Enlil, foretells a calamity, instructs Enlil to select a worthy man to lead survival. Enlil chooses Ibrum, scion of priestly royal family.
Abraham.
Armies raised by Nabu attempt to seize the spaceport. Overruling Enki, the gods resort to weapons of terror. Ninurta and Nergal obliterate the spaceport and sinning cities. The drifting nuclear cloud brings death to all in Sumer. That is the 13th tablet, and that is what we're digging into today.
That's right.
Would you like to say anything before
No,
we begin?
I was just sharing it out to the people. And,
share and share like y'all.
share it to everybody.
Cheers. Welcome to Ganja Gospel.
Downtown Liz Brown, what's happening?
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday fun day. Happy Sunday smoke day fun day.
I'll be smoking the variant. What are you guys smoking on real quick?
Yes, I'd love to know. Inquiring minds
yeah.
want to know.
We have a small grow going outside. Everything's pretty much in flower. They're doing great. Blight's going to take them out before they're ever finished. So it doesn't matter. It's just out there doing its thing. It's whatever. We have the variants, though, that are doing well. And we have shit that's in veg and a shed that's doing fabulous. So everything's going good. Breeding projects are in. I got one more breeding project going on right this minute. Other ones are getting cloned at this minute. We about to do all funky shit. Yo, we about to bring out a whole gelato split line that's going to be fucking killer. Random stuff you gave me. Fuck yeah. Orange candy, a sativa strain, 21%. Oh,
nice. Orange candy. I bet that's
a
nice morning strain, huh? Start your day with a nice inhale of OJ.
Peace out, Mr. Dangster. We live on a flat earth. We don't live on a flat earth.
Are you trying to get him going, or do you really believe that?
Anytime you want to have a flat earth discussion with me or anybody, I challenge any flat earther to a duel of wits with the twisted one.
He is not joking, you guys. He is so ready for this. He is so ready for this.
If you believe the earth is flat and that we don't live on a ball that has a circular circumference all the way around it, you don't believe that it's spinning and moving around the sun, and you think that there's land beyond an ice wall, come chat with me. Come chat with me. I want to show you some stuff. I found some cool stuff, though. And it's not Antarctica, but it's a place by Antarctica. Like right there. It's right there. You can go there by cruise. You can go all those places by cruise. Well, let's go on a cruise there. You can't fly there. Okay, fine. You can take a fucking cruise ship right there, right at that stupid wall that you think is a wall. I just want to show you. You can drive all the way around it. You can float all the way around it. That means there's no wall. It will not continue to go that way out of your sight, and it will not continue to go the other way out of your sight in a straight direction, like as a circle circling the world. It won't do that. It's going to look like the edge of a continent, just like Washington does, or Ireland, or what's that place above fucking Scotland? Go to those places, man. You're going to see a sheer cliff. Here's water, a sheer cliff. Now cover that nice. There's your ice wall. It's not an ice wall. People have been flying over that for years, and they talk about it all the time. But we're going to tell you. So come talk to us, and we'll tell you how we don't live on a flat earth. I want to show you the specific thing. And it's going to blow your mind when I show you this. You're going to be like, I told you it's flat. It's flat. Look, here they are launching off the planet. Look, it's flat the whole time until he zooms out and he's actually taking a video of a globe. It's in like a library.
Are you shitting me?
Got everyone fooled. Everyone fooled. Thought it was a flat earth video of them shooting a rocket off the ground and shit. And the dude was in a library, and there was a humongous globe, the spinning globe.
We'll fucking believe anything. We will fucking believe anything.
When you're on the ground.
I can't believe your eyes anymore.
When you're on the ground, you're a tiny little speck. It looks flat to you. But if you go up high enough and away from the earth, you're going to, lo and behold, see it's a fucking round ball. Why would all the other planets be round and spinning and ours isn't?
Mm-hmm.
That makes no fucking sense. They'll be like, the moon isn't spinning. The moon's not a planet. It's a moon. It's under the influence of our gravity. But that's a whole nother thing. Gravity that you guys don't believe in. Come here. I'm going to teach you what gravity is. I know what gravity is. It's not a scientific thing. It's just a simple thing of magnetism. And you're in the bubble. So you're under the influence of the bubble. If you go on a different planet, you're under the influence of their bubble. You might get smashed to the ground. You might float off the surface of the planet. You might not be able to breathe. That's the bubble. So what do we got here, though?
We have the 13th tablet.
Besides coffee and cannabis.
Coffee and cannabis.
13th tablet.
And the 13th tablet. Would you like to hear about it?
Gravity Bond Creek water.
Cheers, everybody. Welcome to Ganja Gospel. Glad you're here.
Egmo
if
J.
you are on any other platform besides TwizTD RootZ, we're so glad that you're joining us. Most of us are talking in TwizTD RootZ YouTube channel, but thank you for being here. Okay, the 13th tablet.
I'm what the flat earthers call a glober.
Yes, we are globers.
I've traveled. I've been up in the sky many, many times looking around.
All right. In the third region, civilized mankind did not fully blossom. What to Inanna was entrusted, she neglected. Other domains not to her granted. In her heart she coveted.
What's that mean?
What does that sentence mean?
In her heart she coveted.
In her heart she wanted, she desired, she wanted it, but she didn't work for it. It was not granted to her. She didn't want to work for anything. She just wanted it to happen for her.
So you see that already 2 of these younger age Anunnaki are becoming greedy. Marduk and Inanna. Now, these are the 2 that reign supreme today, even with everything. Now Inanna was granted India. The Indus Valley. If you go look that up, that's India, Pakistan, India. That's where it is. I would have thought maybe it was North America kind of thing or the South America, but nope, lo and behold, it's India. So she's got that spot. We call that the city of the gods. There's a place there and they call it the city of the gods. It's ancient. But always remember, if our today type people are talking about something, that like this is the city of the gods, or this is where we walked with the gods. That was in this time, right here, right now. Not the hundreds of thousands of years before that. Because remember, the flood wiped everything out, covered everything with mud, silt, turned everything to clay, wiped all their shit out. They had to rebuild. When the flood waters receded all the way and they had all this extra fucking land because there wasn't a big ice sheet all over the fucking spots of the earth, right? They had all this land. They decided to separate it. That's when they grabbed the meat formula, started building people again. They were making more people. Whoever like TwizTD, hey, you're in charge of Alpina. Okay, cool. There's no people here. Let me fucking make people. I'm gonna make man and woman, and they're gonna bang. That's when it says in the Bibles, the giants came into the earthlings. That's what it literally means. They had sex and came in them and made kids. I always thought I thought maybe spiritually they came inside somebody and made people happen. No, that's not true. It was pornographic for real. So that's what they did. They were making all these people. So she was in charge of all these damn people there, but she's greedy and wanted more lands. And this is what happened. Big
like
war.
Grass is greener on the other side type of scenario. Like she just saw the other two regions that she wanted, and hers just wasn't like the others because she didn't put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it was. So what to Inanna was entrusted, she neglected. Other domains, not to her granted, in her heart she coveted. When from Unuki, at the count of 1,000 years, kingship away was taken. Who the calamity by the end of the next millennium could foresee, who the disaster would have prevented. That in less than 1/3 of one shar a calamity unknown would befall, who could foretell? By Inanna was the bitter end started, Marduk as Ra with destiny tangled, Ninurta and Nergal the unspeakable end with their own hands delivered. Why was Inanna with her granted domain not satisfied? Why to Marduk did unforgiving she remain? Journeying between Unuki and Arata, Inanna restless and ungratified was. For her beloved Dumuzi she still mourned. Her love's desire unquenched remained. When she flew about in the sun rays, Dumuzi's image she saw shimmering and beckoning. In the nighttime, in dream visions, he appeared. I will return, he was saying. The glories of his domain in the land of the Two Narrows to her he was promising. In the second precinct of Unuki, a house for nighttime pleasure she established. To this, Gegunu, young heroes, on the night of their weddings, with sweet words she lured. Long life, a blissful future to them she promised, that her lover Dumuzi was she imagined. Each one in the morning in her bed was found dead. It was at that time that the hero Banda, left for dead, alive to Unuki returned. By the grace of Utu, of whose seed he was, did Banda from the dead return. A miracle, excited, Inanna shouted. My beloved Dumuzi to me came back. In her abode Banda was bathed. With a sash, a fringed cloak on him was fastened. Dumuzi, my beloved, she called him. To her bed with flowers bedecked, she lured him. When in the morning Banda was alive, with joy Inanna shouted. The power of not dying in my hands was placed. Immortality by me is granted. Then to call herself a goddess, Inanna decided. The power of immortality, it implied. Nanar and Ningal, Inanna's parents, by her proclamation were not pleased. Enlil and Ninurta, by Inanna's words, were disconcerted. Utu, her brother, was bemused. The dead to revive is not possible, Enki and Ninarsag to each other said. In the lands of Ki Engi, the people their good fortune praised. The gods are among us. Death they can abolish. So to each other the people said.
So hold on one second. So here we have what most people call the gods. Before this, they weren't calling themselves gods. They were lords. That's why this is the Lost Book of Lord Enki, not God Enki. You know what I'm saying? This is the Lost Book of Enki, but they call him Lord Enki, like Lord Enlil, right? They weren't gods. They never called themselves gods. They were worshipped, right? As if you just go to any like Robin Hood type movies and shit like that, where they had kings and dukes and sheriffs and earls and shit. Those people worship them, or maybe they didn't, but they were supposed to, like, they were the higher ups, right? So they all like worked to them. Like in those days, you worshipped your king, you worshiped the prince, the princess. You get my drift. So that's what they bestowed on people, the same kind of respect that they would get from their subjects on Nibiru. Just like the Agigi, you call them fallen angels. This guy was talking about the fallen angels falling from heaven and shit. And I was like, Mars is not heaven. Mars is not heaven, guys. You know? What up, Modern?
Cheers,
So,
everybody.
you know, I got to throw it off for a second. But, you know, they weren't gods in the beginning, right? This is the first time she decided to call herself a goddess because she was so powerful. She was a master like Nimba was in the sucker in the healing witchcraft. She was a witch, straight witch. And that's why all the witches praise her now. That's her Ishtar, Inanna. You know what I'm saying? She's got a million freaking names. But this was the first time they actually brought someone back from the dead. You hear it, right? So the first time they were able, and you might say, well, TwizTD, we've heard a couple times they talking about with the life water and the pulsar and emitter. Well, think about it. Someone's kind of like, he flatlined on the table, and doctors rush in with their equipment and bring him back to life real quick. He's not completely gone. The spirit's not gone from the body, right? He's still in there. He just needs to be jolted back to life. He needs more electricity. He needs that electrical system. That's what a lot of people don't understand. We're just a big electrical system. If that shuts down, we're fucked. You know, that's why they shock us back to life. It's an electrical charge we need, right? It's what the water's so important for in crystals. That's why we could be healed by crystals, because of the energy force. So they weren't really bringing anyone back to life. The soul had not left the body, right? So therefore, they never were doing what she did. So this dude was dead. Like his soul had left. And they resurrected him from the dead. Like they brought his soul back into his body. So this, in this point in time, this is the first time they record this happening. And nobody's cool with it. Nobody. None of her family, none of Enki's family. Nobody's fucking cool with it. Everyone's talking shit. And she's proclaiming herself a goddess. This is fucking fascinating information right here. Because, you know, she says to Muzi, so this is Jesus talking to Mary, and Jesus said, I will return. Muzi told her, I will return. And he returned. His spirit came back to his body, and he walked the earth. Now, he's been gone for half a fucking shar, or a third of a shar. That's the 3 days, okay? So there's where Jesus walked the earth as a spirit, talking to people. His spirit was wandering around. She was able to grab that motherfucker and put it back in his body. It explains it right here. Go ahead, baby.
On the throne of Anuki, Banda, his father Enmerkar succeeded. Lugal, great man, his title was. The goddess Ninsun of Enlil's seed took him to be her spouse. The hero Gilgamesh, their son, on the throne of Anuki, Lugal Banda, followed.
So Gilgamesh, hold on one second. Gilgamesh was the king of the world for a long time. We're going to read the epic tale of Gilgamesh, the epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, that's the giant that held lions as kittens. And lions today are not they were bigger then. They were bigger then. Even if they weren't, who gives a fuck? Imagine a dude, how strong and big you would have to be. How tough would your skin have to be that a lion could fucking rip into your skin and not rip you open, and you're just holding it like a kitten? Dude, that dude was huge. He had 2 axes. They were 150 pounds apiece. God.
As the years passed and Gilgamesh older grew, of life and death to his mother Ninsun he spoke. About the death of his forebears, though of Anunnaki descended, he wondered. Do gods die? His mother he asked. Shall I too, though 2/3 divine, as a mortal over the wall climb? So to her he said, as long as on earth you abide, the death of an earthling will you overwhelm.
Over what wall? The ice wall? Is she going to go over the ice wall, guys?
Ninsun to her said, but if to Nibiru you will be taken, long life thereon you will attain.
Yeah.
To take Gilgamesh aloft, to Nibiru journey, Ninsun to Utu, the commander appealed. Endlessly, Ninsun to Utu appealed. Day after day with him she pleaded. Let Gilgamesh to the landing place go. Utu, in the end, agreed. To guide and protect him, Ninarsag, a double of Gilgamesh, fashioned.
Oh.
Enkidu, as by Enki created, was he called. Of a womb he was not born. Blood in his veins was not. With the comrade Enkidu, Gilgamesh to the landing place journeyed. Utu with oracles his progress oversaw.
So Enkidu was a golem. He was the Jewish golem, a clay created thing with no soul, no blood. He was not a flesh being. Interesting. Well, we're going to know that information now when we read the Epic of Gilgamesh, because they acted like he was like a Bigfoot, is what they acted like. Hey, Mama Poo Poo, come on. What's your problem?
With the comrade Enkidu, Gilgamesh to the landing place journeyed. Utu with oracles his progress oversaw. At the entrance to the cedar forest, its fire-belching monster their way blocked. With trickery, they the monster confused. 2 pieces it they broke. When the secret entrance to the tunnels of the Anunnaki they found, by the bull of heaven, a creature of Enlil, with deathly snorts they were challenged.
So here they're coming up against different monsters, and what these were challenges that were put in front of people so they couldn't get into the gates of Hades. This is exactly where the fuck they're talking about. The Cedar Mountains are right there. It's the Temple of Baal. You know what I'm saying? That's the landing spot right there. So, and they go in, they're trying to find these secret caves that were guarded now by these big monsters that Enki put there. So they couldn't get in front of them. Because remember, there's all those 7 gates of hell. They had to put all this shit in front of the Anunnaki so they couldn't come and fuck with them. There's all the Agigi down there. The fallen angels, the bad guys, the devils, the demons are down there. They're not really. They just gave them that bad name. You know what I'm saying? So they're down there. But remember, when we look at this topography or whatever the fuck it is now, it's all desert and rocks. In their days, they are stating that they are giant cedar forest covering the land. They have to go through it. It's like a jungle. You know what I mean? Interesting as fuck. They fucking find a fire-breathing dragon. They find a huge fucking snorting fucking fire-snorting fucking bull. It's crazy, man.
To the gates of Anuki, the monster them chased. At the city's ramparts by Enkidu it was smitten. When Enlil this heard, with agony he cried. In the heavens of Anu was his wailing heard. For in his heart Enlil well knew, bad indeed was the omen. For having the bull of heaven slain, to perish in waters, Enkidu was punished. Gilgamesh, having by Ninsun and Utu been instructed of the slaying, was absolved. Still the long life of Nibiru seeking, Gilgamesh to proceed to the place of the chariots by Utu was permitted. After many adventures, the land of Tilman, the 4th region, he reached. Through its subterranean tunnels he proceeded. In a garden of precious stones the Sudra he met.
Hold on. What do you want? So listen. So he goes into the land of Tillman, right? He finds the caves to Hades. And go to, they say Hades is a man, not a place, but whatever. The underworld, told you, inner earth. He finds these caves. He travels through the caves. He has many adventures, right? He travels through the caves. He comes to a place of mushrooms and a crystal garden. Who the fuck does he find in there? None other than motherfucking Noah. Noah. How many years does it say in the Bible that Noah lived? 980, didn't it? I think so. That's a lie, because here it is. Noah lived for however many fucking years. We can go back and figure it out. We'll go later. And then the flood happens. This is however many fucking years after the flood, which means way more than 980 years.
Way more.
Because if it's even just a third of a shar, if he was 0 at the flood and a third of a shar's 3,600 years. What's a third of 3,600? It's got to be more than 980, right? So therefore, he's down below. He's in the inner earth. What do we know about the inner earth? One day is 1,000 years in that motherfucker. So when he's in there, he's living thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But if he comes up here, it would be a day. If he came here, he would age super, super fast. That's what I'm trying to say. When you go down into inner earth, the time is completely fucking different where you can live for a long time. Now, these were the secrets that Gilgamesh was seeking. Gilgamesh has already lived for thousands and thousands of years, the greedy son of a bitch. He's conquering the world, killing all kinds of armies. We're going to find this motherfucker in history. You're going to find him. They're going to talk about he was like a 6 foot tall fucking dude, just big burly. No, he was like 18 feet tall, killing motherfuckers. Like that dude they call Goliath, he was his little brother. Goliath was the little guy. He was the little brother of the giant races that were left. Gilgamesh was the king of all those giants and all the people. So he wanted to figure out, how do I live forever? How do the Anunnaki do it? Because guess what? We weren't allowed off the world. We weren't allowed into space. Because why? Because we would figure it all out, right? We would go to Nibiru and live forever. Because why? We're greedy. Go find the flat earthers where they talk about all this other land and all these resources we could mine and all this shit we could farm. That's exactly, if there is land, that's exactly why they ain't gonna tell you. We're gonna go and fuck it all up like we do to this planet here, man. Come on now. What do we got?
Through its subterranean tunnels he proceeded.
Inner earth, baby.
In a garden of precious stones, Zecharia he met.
Noah.
The events of the deluge Zecharia to Gilgamesh related. The secret of long living to Gilgamesh he revealed.
Noah knew the secrets to long living. It's mononuclear gold, by the way.
A plant in the garden's well was growing.
Oh.
Zecharia and his spouse from getting old it prevented.
Oh.
Unique of all the plants on earth it was. By it a man full vigor can regain.
Wow.
Man at old age is young again. This is the plant's name, Zecharia to Gilgamesh said. A gift of Enki with Enlil's blessing on the Mount of Salvation to us was granted. When Zecharia and his spouse were asleep, Gilgamesh to his feet stones tied. Into the well he dived. The plant of being young again he grasped and uprooted. With the plant in his satchel, through the tunnels he hurried. To Unuki he made his way.
So what's the plant's name?
The plant's name is Old Age is Young Again. That's what it said in here. Old Age is Young Again. That is the plant's name. The plant of being young again.
Yeah.
That's that they don't say it.
It doesn't.
That's what they say.
It doesn't live on our surface of this planet anymore. It's in inner earth.
He uprooted the one and only that was here,
And
motherfucker.
You hear what he had to do. It was in the bottom of a well. So what did he do? You would think, okay, cool, that well is empty and there's a plant growing down there. No, he threw stones on his feet so he would sink in the water, and he uprooted it. So it's got to be a cave dwelling, pure darkness, probably plant and aquatic. That's fucking interesting as
Very interesting.
fuck. Like when they talk about, one second, when they talk about finding the fountain of youth.
Oh man.
What if it's just this fuck, it's always this plant that's in a cave in the water. The water's dripping. What if it's just the runoff of this fucking plant?
They always say it's the fountain. Well, it's the fountain you got to get through to get to.
The secrets have always been there. We just ain't been paying attention to this shit. No wonder there's people that cave dwell. Sri Lankers that will lose their fucking life. They don't give a fuck to find the cave because they know that little fucking spot right there. I can get through it because, you know, it could be right there. It could be right there, that plant. You know, they're trying to find what they're talking about, these under the ground dwellings.
When he tired and was asleep, a snake by the plant's fragrance was attracted. The plant did the snake snatch from the sleeping Gilgamesh. With the plant, it vanished. In the morning, his loss discovered, Gilgamesh sad and wept. To Unuki, empty-handed, he returned. As a mortal therein, he died. 7 more kings in Unuki after Gilgamesh reigned. Then its kingship to an end came. Precisely when the count of 1,000 earth years was completed, it was. To Urim, the city of Nanar and Ningal, was kingship of the first region transferred. To all these matters that in the other regions were occurring, Marduk much heed gave. By Inanna's dreams and visions, to Dumuzi's domain alluding, Ra was disturbed.
You gotta go potty?
To counteract, I think the door is closed.
Yeah.
It might be. I didn't even think about that until right now. It's chilly today. We closed the door. Oh, it is? Oh, okay. To Urim, the city of Nanar and Ningal, the kingship of the first region transferred. To all these matters that in the other regions were occurring, Marduk much heed gave. By Inanna's dreams and visions, to Dumuzi's domain alluding, Ra was disturbed. To counteract Inanna's schemes of expansions, he was determined. In the matters of resurrection and immortality, he found much to ponder. The thought of divine godship to him greatly appealed. To be a great god himself, he announced.
Who's that?
Ra.
Marduk, right?
Marduk.
So the original Ra was Thoth, Ningazita. He fathered Horus and Set, okay? And then later his wife took the DNA out of Horus and impregnated herself and made Osiris, some fuck bullshit. You know the story. So that was a different dude that was Ra at that time. And then Marduk stole the Ra ship.
He proclaimed himself Ra.
Yeah, proclaimed
like he don't
himself
steal
Ra.
shit. He just claims it for himself and just whatever.
And
it's not you, it's me.
That's when Ningazita was like, all right, cool. I'll just become Thoth again. I'm all right.
Okay, where was I at? Shoot.
So the first 1 second while you find your spot. The beginning of civilization started in the Kush area, right? So that's Iran. And then it moved over into, I believe, what section? The second section, whatever.
They have gone into the second, yeah.
The second.
The fourth is where, yeah, the second.
All right, let's hear it.
In the matters of resurrection and immortality, he found much to ponder. The thought of divine godship to him greatly appealed. To be a great god himself, he announced. By what to Gilgamesh, in good measure an earthling, was permitted, Ra was angered. But a clever way wherewith the loyalty of kings and people to retain, he deemed it. If demigods the gateway to immortality are shown, let this to the kings of my region apply. So did Marduk in the second region by the name of Ra known.
Yeah, so that's Egypt.
To himself words say.
Yeah, so Egypt, so basically Africa. It's not even Africa, because Africa was something totally separate from it. They called this area the land of the two narrows. So before the flood, imagine this. What we see today is like the big Nile River going through. And then there's two other rivers that are very fucking small. And then we got the Gulf of Iraq or Persian Gulf or whatever the fuck. Imagine when they first landed, that Persian Gulf shit wasn't there. They never talked about a peninsula before the flood. They talked about rivers that flowed through that area. The flood happened. Then they talked about a peninsula. And now when you go there, everyone thinks Iraq would be the peninsula. But look, dude, Africa is a peninsula. Fucking Egypt, not Egypt, but fucking India. Like all these places are peninsulas when you look at them. It's places surrounded by three sides of water. So it's hard to kind of tell exactly when they say peninsula, what the fuck are you talking about? But they made it kind of cool and they broke it up in regions. So when they talk about where Ra is, and that's where they know him as Ra, because they know him as different things in different spots. So that's the land of the two narrows. You might say, well, that's Jerusalem area. No, that was Egypt in that time. That whole area was the same thing. It was not separated. There was no Jerusalem. There was no this and that. It was all under Egyptian rule. Just like later in time, it all became under the rule of Rome. All of it. Go ahead.
So did Marduk in the second region by the name Ra known, to himself words say, let the kings of my region of Netiru offspring be to Nibiru in an afterlife journey. So did Ra in his realm decree, the kings how to build tombs facing eastward he taught. To the priest scribes a long book he dictated, the afterlife journey in detail in it was described.
That is called the Book of the Dead. Okay, we know these books today. He's describing exactly where they put the spell on us, people. Our souls are free and our own. Worshiping this, they tell you this is how they wanted them to be able to put their souls to the afterlife. And this is how it's going down. That's crazy shit, man.
How to reach the Duat, the place of the celestial boats, in the book was told. How to there, by a stairway to heaven, to the imperishable planet journey. Of the light of the plant of life partake, the waters of youth to satiation drink. Of the coming of the gods to earth, by Ra were the priests taught. Gold is the splendor of life, to them he said. The flesh of the gods it is, to the kings Ra said. To make expeditions to the Abzu and the lower domain, gold to obtain, the kings he instructed. When by the force of weapons the kings of Ra lands, not theirs, conquer. His brothers' realms he invaded. Their ire he caused to arise and grow. What is Marduk up to? The brothers each other asked. What over us he tramples? That over us he tramples. To their father Enki they appealed. To Ta, his father Ra, did not listen. To capture all adjoining lands, the kings of Magan and Melua, Ra directed. To be the master of the four regions was his heart's plan. The earth is mine to rule, so adamantly to his father he said. Now this is the account of how Marduk, supreme himself declared, and Babili built, and how Inanna, warrior kings commanding, blood made flow and sacrileges allowed. After kingship to Urim from Unugki was transferred, Nanar and Ningal to the people smiled. My fucking glasses are so crooked right now.
Perfect time for a hit of the ganja. I hope you guys are enjoying the Ganja Gospel today. Books aloud by Amber Lilana. the hippie
This
wedge.
is really getting
And it gets you some new ones.
lopsided. I just need a screw to fix this side. I need
Yeah.
to get a little screw kit.
This is absolutely amazing. Now, there's a lot of speculation, okay, that Marduk was Ra in America's Egypt. Oh, I know. But, their second area was supposedly the land of the two Narrows. It was where they landed, was their first area, and that's where they built all their civilizations. And then the second area is where they went, and the third area is over here, and fourth area is over here. And then, of course, they have the Abzu. So you see, after all these times go by, they're still talking about mining gold out of the Abzu. Slavery is still going down. There's even shit in Ephesus or some shit, 9:16, some shit like that, about slavery. Peter said something. Yeah, Paul or somebody, one of those fucking apostles, said something about slavery and shit and how to be a slave. And it's fucking stupid, man, all about God. And this is all about what it is. But imagine, so in the Book of the Dead, it tells you the plant and how to get the water to basically resurrect yourself from the dead. It says that the soul, the spirit, will go, like I said, to the everlasting planet. That's Nibiru. They're literally talking about your soul going to Nibiru, right? I always talk about the everlasting light and shit, right? So it's pretty fucking interesting here. And I think from here is where they learned how to spellcraft everybody and how to charge their own power with our prayers. So let's hear some more of this shit. You're gorgeous. Hello. Hello. How you doing?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good.
No,
Variant's treating me very nice.
glasses.
Fucking fucking glasses.
Fashion glasses.
God damn it.
After kingship to Urim from Unuki was transferred, Nanar and Ningal on the people smiled. As his rank of 30 befitting, as the god of the moon, Nanar was worshipped.
The god of the moon.
As
Nanar, a man, right?
Yes.
A man.
As the count of the moon months in a year, 12 festivals each year he decreed. To each of the 12 great Anunnaki a month and its festival were dedicated. Throughout the first region to the Anunnaki gods, great and lesser ones, shrines and sanctuaries were built. The people to their gods could directly pray. In the first region, civilizations from Ki Engi to other neighboring lands spread. In cities of man, local rulers as righteous shepherds were designated. Artisans and farmers, shepherds and weavers, their products far and wide exchanged. Laws of justice were decreed. Contracts of trade, of espousal and divorce were honored. In schools, the young ones studied. Scribes, hymns, and proverbs and wisdom recorded. Abundance and happiness were in the lands. Quarrels and encroachments there were also. All the while, Inanna in her skyship from land to land roamed. Near the upper sea with Utu, she frolicked. To the domain of her uncle Ishkur she went. Dudu, beloved, she called him.
Dudu.
Dudu. To the people who in the upper plain of the two rivers dwelt, Inanna took a liking. The sound of their tongue she found pleasant. To speak their language she learned. By the name of the planet Lahamu, in their tongue Ishtar they called her.
Ishtar.
Uruk, her city Unuki, they called. Dudu as Adad, in their language they pronounced. Sin, lord of oracles, her father Nanar they named. Urum city, by them Ur was called. Shamash, bright sun, in their tongue Utu they called. Him too they worshipped.
Utu is her twin brother.
Enlil, by them father Enlil was called. Nippur, by them was Nibruki. Ki Engi, land of the lofty watchers, Shumer, in their language was named. In Shumer, the first region, kingship between the cities was rotated. In the second region, diversity by Ra was not permitted. Alone to reign he wished. The eldest of heaven, firstborn who is on earth, thus by the priest to be known he wanted. the foremost from the earliest times. So he decreed in the
one
hymns
God.
to be called Lord of eternity, he who everlastingness has made, over all the gods presiding, the one who is without equal, the great solitary and sole one. So did Marduk, as Ra, above all other gods himself in place.
I blew a snot bubble on that one. He is something else, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. Their powers and attributes to himself, he by himself assigned.
See? The one God.
As Enlil, I am for lordship and decrees. As Ninurta for the hoe and the combat. As Adad for lightning and thunder. As Nanar for illuminating and night. As Utu, I am Shamesh. As Nergal, over the lower world, I reign. As Gibil, the golden depths I know. Whence copper and silver come, I have found. As Ningazida, numbers and their count I command. The heavens my glory bespeak. By these proclamations, the Anunnaki leaders were greatly alarmed.
Yeah.
To their father Enki, the brothers of Marduk spoke. Nergal to Ninurta, their concerns conveyed.
Yep.
What has you overpowered? Enki to his son Marduk said. Unheard of are your pretensions. The heavens, my supremacy bespeak. Marduk, his father Enki answered. The bull of heaven, Enlil's constellation sign, by his own offspring was slain. In the heavens, the age of the ram, my age, is coming. Unmistakable the omens are. In his abode in Eridu, the circle of the 12 constellations, Enki examined. On the first day of spring, the beginning of a year, sunrise was carefully observed. In the constellation stars of the bull was the sun that day rising. In Nibruki and Urum, in Enlil and Nanar, the observations made. In the lower world, where the instrument stations had been, Nergal, the results attested. Still remote was the time of the ram, the age of the bull, of Enlil it still was. In his domains, Marduk, in his assertions, did not relent. By Nabu he was assisted. To domains, not his emissaries he sent, to the people that his time has come to announce. To Ninkazita, the Anunnaki leaders appealed. How to the people the skies to observe to teach. In his wisdom, stone structures Ninkazita devised. Ninurta and Ishkur to erect them helped. In the settled lands near and far, the people, how the skies to observe they taught. That the sun in the constellation of the bull was still rising to the people they showed. With sorrow did Enki these ongoings watch, how fate, the rightful order, twisted he pondered. After the Anunnaki, as gods themselves declared, on mankind's support they instead are dependent. In the first region, to unify the lands under one leader, the Anunnaki decided, a warrior king they desired. To Inanna of Marduk, the adversary, the task of the right man to find they entrusted.
Oh, hold up 1 second. So my dog's names are Attila and Aurora. So here you go, right? Inanna is calling Marduk Satan, the adversary, the actual adversary. You hear in here, no time to ever say Satan. No one ever is called Satan. We made that name, right? We are all about the serpent thing, right? Here, they're calling it adversary. So she's against him because he's the one that killed her beloved Dumuzi. And so she hates him. And Dumuzi was actually his little brother. So here's Marduk. And we can go back in history and find this where there's many gods. Everywhere there was all these different, there was females and males, and they all had different names. And she went over how in the different lands, you know, Inanna loved the people. She loved the little sheeple, and she would go into different areas because what happened? Enlil took down the Tower of Babel that Marduk built, right? So I don't care what your Bible says. I don't care who it says in history. Marduk built the Tower of Babel. They went over. Enlil didn't do it, but he told his little posse to go over there, his kids and grandkids go over there and destroy it with their rocket ships. So they tumbled it down, and then he put a spell on everyone. They knew witchcraft. Well, how do you think we know that shit? How do you think we know anything? taught us all the stuff. So they put a spell by incantation, blah, 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 cut their speech up and split them apart so they can never have the same ideas in the same kind of thing. Like we might all come up with the same kind of airplane invention, but no one's going to have the same idea, specifically the same. Like that's what happened. We all were building this Tower of Babel. All of humanity was building this Tower of Babel, and they were like, oh, hell no. We got to stop that shit. They are too coordinated and organized and planned. And they all speak the same language. We got to fix that. So they fixed that shit for us. So Inanna was like, let me go fly around. Oh, look at these people call me this. Oh, look, Utu, they call you this. And then they go over here and they go, oh, these people call me this. Guess what they call Dad? They call Dad this. Oh, wait, ask them what your name is. They're like going, woo, evil one. They're going all around the world. They're going all around the world and seeing what all the sheeple all around the world are calling them. What is their name? Right? So it's very interesting when God says, I have many names. No, he don't. He only got one real name. He's got all the sheeple calling him all kinds of different shit because he fucking split up the damn language and shit. So here we got Marduk and Inanna fucking about to fucking throw down, baby. Remember they threw down before? She flew over. She went on Garuda. This is before Anu gave her his fucking mothership, right? Because he loves her. And she flew Garuda in the fucking Mount Rabata, flew Garuda over to Marduk and fucking tumbled his house of a mountain on top of him. What happy sound.
To Inanna of Marduk the adversary, the task of the right man to find they entrusted. A strong man whom on her journeys she had met and loved, Inanna to Enlil indicated. Arbakad of 4 garrisons the commander was his father, a high priestess his mother was. Scepter and crown Enlil gave him. Sharukin, righteous regent, Enlil him appointed. As on Nibiru once was done, a new crown city, the lands to unify was established. Agade, or Agade, the unified city they named it. Not far from Kishi it was located. By Enlil was Sharukin empowered. Inanna with her weapons of brilliance his warriors accompanied. All the lands from the lower sea to the upper sea to his throne obedience gave. At the borders of the 4th region, to protect it, his troops were stationed. With a cautious eye, Ra on Inanna and Sharukin constantly gazed. Then, as a falcon on his prey, he pounced. From the place where Marduk, the tower to heaven, reached to build had attempted, sacred soil from there to Agade did Sharukin move.
Tower of Babel.
Therein the heavenly bright object to implant. Enraged did Marduk to the 1st region rush. With Nabu and followers to the tower's place they came. Of the sacred soil, I alone the possessor am. By me shall a gateway of the gods be established. So did Marduk vehemently announced. Instructions the river to divert to his followers he gave. Dikes and walls of the place of the tower they raised. The Isagel, house for the utmost god, for Marduk they built. Babili, the gateway of the gods, Nabu in his father's honor named it. In the heart of the Eden, in the midst of the 1st region, Marduk himself established. Inanna's fury no boundary knew. With her weapons on Marduk's followers death she inflicted. The blood of people as never before on earth like rivers flowed. To his brother Marduk, Nergal to Babili came. For the sake of the people, Babili to leave him he persuaded. Let us peacefully wait for the true signs of heaven, Nergal to his brother said. To depart Marduk agreed. From land to land, the skies to watch, he traveled.
So Inanna went and started slaughtering all the humans that were worshiping Marduk. He said, all right, you won't fucking stop your shit, Marduk? I'm just going to kill all the people that fucking say Ra's cool. And she went and slaughtered everybody because, she had power, like unbelievable power.
Amun, the unseen one, in the 2nd region was Ra henceforth called.
Amon-Ra.
Mm-hmm. For a while was Anana appeased. 2 sons of Sharukin, his peaceful successors, were. Then on the throne of Agade, Sharukin's grandson ascended. Naram-Sin, by sin loved, he was called. In the first region, Enlil and Ninurta absent were. To the lands beyond the oceans they went. In the second region, Ra was away. As Marduk in other lands he traveled. Her chance in her hands to seize all powers Inanna envisioned. Naram-Sin to seize all lands she commanded.
So she's trying to do exactly what Marduk did. No one's the better. No one's the better here. They all want to be in charge of Earth. Because what happened? Anu gave them orders of what to do. And he said, it's yours. I'm out. I'm going back to Nibiru. We've done our job. You guys just take over to Earth and let the humans. They gave them orders of what to do. They built cities. They gave them kingship. They first had one king of the world for a long time. Here it makes it sound small, but they give you the Shar. So, what's his face? He ruled for 1,000 years. Gilgamesh ruled for 1,000 years, and then they transferred the kingship to the second region. And then they decided, man, we should probably split this up even further down the road. They didn't go for like a couple months, a couple of our months, a couple of our years. It went for like 3,600, 7,200 of our years, like thousands of years went by. Then they started going, oh man, let's put a kingship here. Let's put a kingship there. Then they started teaching. Then the Silk Road came. Then all these things started coming, right? That we're catching up on our time frame here. So we're gonna start seeing castles. We're gonna start seeing the separation here. Like in this whole time though, there's giants. Remember that. Like there's huge giants, giant fucking men, and there's us, little people. There's regular 6 foot tall motherfuckers, you know what I mean?
We're the little people.
Those were all around at that time because that's what they refer to as the civilized man, was our size people. They first started off with like 15 to 20 foot tall people, and then
the smaller we got, the more civilized we got.
Yeah, the fallen angels came and made people that were 450 feet tall up to that size. They made them people humongous. And then they got smaller. What up, Barefoot Stone and Shake? Cheers.
To march against Magan and Melua, Marduk domains, Naram-Sin she instructed. Were you done? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The sacrilege of an earthling's army through the fourth region, passing Naram-Sin committed. Magan he invaded, the sealed Ekur, house which like a mountain is, to enter he attempted. By the sacrileges and transgressions, Enlil was infuriated.
Oh.
Upon Naram-Sin and Agade a curse he put. By a bite of a scorpion did Naram-Sin die. By the command of Enlil was Agade wiped out.
Uh-oh.
At the count of 1,500 Earth years did this happen.
Agade, so that must be Agartha. I bet you that's Agartha.
Now this is the account of the prophecy by Galzu to Enlil in a vision given.
So 1 second.
Okay.
People search the world for Agartha. It says it was wiped out. Stop searching.
It does. It says it was wiped out.
Wiped out by Enlil.
By the command of Enlil, Agade was wiped out.
Yeah.
Wiped out.
Wiped out.
Gone.
There's rocks and shit there, but it's gone. It says where it's at right there. But
about Marduk's supremacy it was, how a calamity to survive a man to choose. After Marduk, Amun became, kingship in the second region disintegrated. Disorder and confusion reigned. After Agade was wiped out, in the first region there was disorder, confusion reigned. In the first region, kingship was in disarray. From cities of gods to cities of man it moved about. Unugki, Lagesh, Urim, and Kish, Isen, and to faraway places kingship was shifting. Then Enlil, with Anu consulting, kingship to the hands of Nanar deposited.
So there you go. They had cities of the gods and cities of humans. So the kingship went back and forth from the gods to the humans. And when they say gods, when I say gods, it's just the Anunnaki. So all them had little kingships all over the place. They're like, I'm going to be king now. Remember, they looked just like us. So it was no different, except they were more powerful, way more fucking powerful than the actual humans. Now, the first time you hear them talking about demigods too, what they mean there is not the actual creation. They mean the half-breeds, the half them, the half human, right? Not the human creation, the half them, half human. Now we're coming to our world today. Who's half human and half demigod, though?
My God, you guys, like we're talking about thousands of intermingling years. At this point, we could all be have a touch of Anunnaki in us.
We do for sure, but it's like,
but more than that,
we could be fallen angels,
like
half fallen angel. We could be half the devil. They said the devil walked on this earth and made shit tons of kids. You just call him the devil. You call him the adversary, Shimyaza. Azazel did the same thing. He's why you put makeup on the shit, and she got a wig on right now and stuff.
Thanks, Azazel.
Yep. But that's just interesting. Like they all interbred together. That was their thing. There was never a time. So where's the purity come from? Where is this so-called pure line coming from anywhere? Because everything was mixed. There was first dark-skinned people. You would call them black today. I don't call them black in those times. We were talking about this. They describe them. They were dark brown skin, red though, reddish brown, right? They were dark brown and red. You go to around the world today.
They say more about their hair than their skin.
Yeah.
So.
But there's two places on our planet that have those exact same type of people today. That's India, right? They have the reddish, dark brown people. And in Australia, that's the Aboriginal people. They're reddish brown. They're super, super fucking dark. Then they talk about the brownish yellow, these different colors that were coming out of the brown, but it was melanation was what first was created. Then all of a sudden came Noah, the first white man, pitch white. He was glowing. But it wouldn't be, he was glowing. They ain't never seen a white person before. Imagine a whole bunch of black people and they're standing around birth mother and all that shit. And they spit out this fucking kid that's white with blue eyes. Shit would glow. It would glow. You ever been in a crowded room, black people in the dark? Man, you're the only thing that anybody can see for real. Because you're this color. And so he was the first Caucasian or unmelanated person. But what they were trying, I think, get to was the Anunnaki's skin color was more pale like this. They talked about it even
when the first female was born.
Yeah.
With the sand-colored hair and Anunnaki skin, but she was lighter. She was lighter altogether. It doesn't give a skin tone necessarily, but it does say that her hair was of sand and she was lighter.
Yeah. And then they all throughout the story, they talk about how the appearance of the Anunnaki and what they kind of look like and how the radiation was affecting them. Right. So we go to different civilizations and they got like depictions of their rulers and their gods. And some of them depict a white dude with blue eyes and a white beard, white long hair. So, could the white gene, the non-melanation, could that have possibly come from a race of people from a different planet that go far out to deep space that aren't used to being by a sun, that they need melanation? Would that make sense to anyone else out there that extraterrestrials that go way the fuck out there, away from our hot fucking
UV.
radiation sun, might be non-melanated. That's just what I'm fucking throwing out there, man. Go ahead.
Then Enlil, with Anu consulting, kingship in the hands of Nanar deposited. To Urim, in whose soil the divine, healthy, bright object remained implanted, kingship for the third time was granted. In Urim, a righteous shepherd of men, Nanar as king appointed. Ur-Namu was his name.
You're Namu. No, I'm Namu.
Ur-Namu.
I'm Namu, man.
Equity in the lands, Ur-Namu established.
Imagine, 1 second. Imagine being these motherfuckers. You're like friends. You're all friends. And you're like, yo, what's your name? Forget, like, yo, who you here?
Oh, God.
Oh, they have so many fucking names, dude. Go ahead. Sorry, baby.
Equity in the lands, Ur-Namu established. To violence and strife an end he made. In all the lands, prosperity was abundant. It was at that time that in the nighttime Enlil a dream vision had. The image of a man to him appeared, bright and shining like the heavens he was. As he approached and by Enlil's bed stood, Enlil, the white-haired Galzu, recognized. In his left hand, a tablet of lapis lazuli he was holding. The starry heavens on it were designed. By the 12 constellation signs were the heavens divided. To them, with his left hand, Galzu pointed. From the bull to the ram, Galzu his pointing shifted. 3 times the pointing he repeated. Then, in the dream vision, Galzu spoke up and to Enlil thus said, the righteous time of benevolence and peace by evil doing and bloodshed will be followed. In 3 celestial portions, the ram of Marduk, the bull of Enlil will replace. One who himself as supreme God has declared supremacy on earth will seize. A calamity has never before occurred, by fate decreed will happen. As at the time of the deluge, a righteous and worthy man must be chosen. By him and his seed will civilize mankind, as by the creator of all intended, be preserved. So did Galzu, the divine emissary, to Enlil in the dream vision say.
Wow.
When Enlil from the nighttime dream vision awakened, there was no tablet beside his bed. Was it an oracle from heaven, or was it an oracle from heaven, or did I it all in my heart imagine? Enlil to himself wondered. To none of his sons, Nanar among them, nor to Ninlil, did he of the dream vision tell. Among the priests in the Nubruki temple, Enlil of the celestial savants inquired. Tiru, an oracle priest, to him the high priest indicated. Of Ibru, of Arbakad, the grandson, he was descended. 6th generation of Nubruki priests he was. With the royal daughters of Urum's kings, they were intermarried. Get yourself to Nanar's temple in Urim, the heavens for celestial time observe. 72 earth years is the count of a celestial portion. The passage of 3 thereof carefully recorded. So did Enlil to Tiru the priest say. The prophesied time he made him count. While Enlil, the dream vision, and his portents pondered, Marduk from land to land went. Of his supremacy, the people he was telling to followers gain was his purpose. In the lands of the upper sea and the lands of Ki-Engi bordering, Nabu, Marduk's son, was the people inciting. To seize the 4th region was his plan. Between the dwellers of the west and the dwellers of the east, clashes were occurring. Kings' hosts of warriors formed. Caravans ceased going. The walls of cities were raised. What Galzu had foretold indeed is happening, Enlil to himself said. Upon Tiru and his sons of worthy lineage descended, Enlil set his gaze. This is the man to choose, by Galzu indicated, Enlil to himself said. To Nanar, without the dream vision revealing, Enlil to his son thus said. In the land between the rivers, whence Arbakad had come, a city like Urim establish. A home abode away from Urim, let it for you and Ningal be. In its midst a temple shrine establish. The priest prince Tiru in charge thereof appoint. By his father's word abiding, Nanar in the land of Arbakad, the city of Haran. Arbakad, the city of Haran, establish. To be high priest in its temple shrine, Hebrew he sent his family with him. When 2 celestial portions out of the prophecy 3 were completed, did Tiru go to Haran go. At that time, Urunamu, the joy of Urim, in the western lands from his chariot fell and died. On the throne of Urim, his son Shugi him succeeded.
Shugi.
Full of vile and eager for battles, Shugi was. In Nibruki himself, high priest he anointed. He in Unuki, the joys of Inanna's vulva he sought.
Oh.
Warriors from the mountain lands to Nanar, not beholden, in his army he enlisted. With their help, the western lands he overran. The sanctity of Mission Control Center he ignored. In the sacred 4th region, his foot he set. King of the 4 regions himself he declared.
Yep.
About the defilements, Enlil was angered. About the invadings, Enki to Enlil spoke. The rulers of your region all bounds have exceeded, Enki to Enlil bitterly said.
Yep.
Of all the troubles, Marduk is the fountainhead, Enlil to Enki retorted. Still the dream vision to himself keeping, Enlil to Tiru his attention turned. Upon Ibru the eldest son of Tiru, Enlil cast the choosing gaze.
So here you got Marduk. He owns tons of fucking humans, right? He's starting talking shit to his brothers and Enlil's fucking sons and shit, and they're on the east. He's from the west. That's what they're talking about. We're not talking about continents here. We're still talking about the same spot. He's in the west part of the fucking over there, and they're in the east part, like over in India and stuff. And this is when it first talks about them building walls around their cities because they were getting attacked. And then we hear about the wall of China. Why is the wall of China so fucking big? Why can you see it from space? What would be the point in building a wall over a mountain? What the fuck are we gonna climb that fucking mountain to try and invade this shit? What? You try to pull an army up the side of a fucking mountain and attack something, dude. You're gonna die. Unless you possibly 450 fucking meters tall. Then you need a fucking wall of China. You know what I mean? So here's an interesting part where she's telling us how they built the walls up to protect themselves against each other, and they built armies to fight each other. So Marduk's talking shit. He's like, fuck you. And then Enlil's people get all pissed off, and they're like, all right, motherfucker, we're gonna come over there and whoop your ass again. Because, you know, and I whooped your ass. And we got human kings, well, they're demigods, thinking about banging the fucking royalty over here. They're like, I'm thinking about getting up inside fucking.
He declares himself ruler and says, hey,
I want to get up inside that. And, so here's areas where we're talking about like Troy and stuff like that. And we're talking about like, what was their names? Odysseus and them different fucking King Agamemnon and stuff like that. Those are all Anunnaki, bro. Those are Anunnaki. Swear to God. Watch, you're going to hear us talk about shit, and you're going to hear the same fucking stories. Maybe not in this one, maybe in the next one. And then you're going to hear about this big old bomb that goes off and shit that nobody knows. Not one motherfucker's ever talking about this shit. Why? I don't know. But you know what's funny to me? If nuclear bomb goes off and then you try to carbon date something for its like nuclear date, wouldn't it affect that? I think like it would affect that. I think so. So like when we look at shit on our planet, they're like, oh, it's billions of years old, and then there's a fucking hammer in it.
But is it though? But
These things weren't here for millions of years. They said hundreds of thousands of years for sure, but not millions, not billions. And then we're finding shit in rock that's supposed to be billions of years old, and we're finding TikTok clocks and motherfucking cell phones and shit, weird shit like that. No, man. The carbon dating's fucked up because this shit happened. This motherfucking evil wind and Attila let out his ass came. And so they picked someone, though. So Galzu comes and was like, yo, you need to pick someone so his family and the seeds of the earth can proliferate and you can keep them and they'll be safe. But where would they keep the people on the planet? Like, Enlil's like, he wouldn't bring nobody up in his spaceship. Hell no. He wouldn't do it ever before.
His skyship.
He wouldn't do it before.
Nope. Nobody allowed. A princely offspring, valiant and with priestly secrets acquainted, Ibn was. To protect the sacred places, the chariot's ascents and descents enable, Enlil, Ibrum, to go commanded. No sooner did Ibrum from Haran depart, than in that city Marduk arrived. The defilements he too had observed, as birth pangs of a new order, he them deemed. From Haran, on the threshold of Shumer, his final thrust he planned. From Haran, at the edge of Ishkur's domain situated, the raising of armies he directed. When 24 earth years of his sojourn in Haran had passed, Marduk to the other gods, of whomever descended, tearfully an appeal made. Confessing his transgressions, but insisting on his lordship, to them he thus said, O gods of Haran, O great gods who judge, learn my secrets. As I girdle my belt, my memories I remember. I am the divine Marduk, a great god. In my domains as Ra am I known. For my sins to exile I went, to the mountains have I gone, in many lands I wandered. From where the sun rises to where the sun sets I went, to the land of Ishkur I came. 24 years in the midst of Haran I nested, an omen in its temple I sought. Until when, about my lordship, an omen in the temple I asked. Your days of exile are completed, to me the oracle in the temple said. O great gods who the fates determine, let me to my city set my course. My temple is Sagil, and as an everlasting abode establish. A king in Babili install. In my temple house, let all the Anunnaki gods assemble. My covenant accept. So did Marduk, confessing and appealing to the other gods, his coming announce.
Wow.
By his appeal for their submission, the Anunnaki gods were disturbed and alarmed. To a great assembly council to take, Enlil them all summoned. All the Anunnaki leaders in Nabruki gathered. Enki and Marduk's brothers also came. About the happenings, all of them were agitated. Opposed to Marduk and Nabu, they all were. In the council of the great gods, accusations were rampant. Recriminations filled the chamber. What is coming, no one can prevent. Let us Marduk's supremacy accept, Enki alone counseled. If the time of the ram is coming, let us Marduk of the bond, heaven earth deprive, Enlil in anger proposed. To obliterate the place of the celestial chariots, all except Enki agreed. To use, therefore, the weapons of terror, Nergal suggested. Only Enki was opposed. Yeah. Of the decision, earth to Anu, the words pronounced. Anu to earth, the words repeated. What was destined to be by your decision to undo will fail, so did Enki say as he departed. The evil thing to carry out Ninurta and Nergal were selected. Now this is the account of how fate to destiny did lead, how step by step, some in long forgotten times taken, the great calamity made happen. Yep. Now let it for all time be recorded and remembered. When the decision to use the weapons of terror was made, to himself Enlil 2 secrets kept. To no one, before the terrible decision was taken, did Enlil the secret of Galzu's dream vision reveal. To no one, until the fateful decision was made, did Enlil his knowledge of the terror's hiding place disclose. When, despite all protestations, the council to use the weapons of terror permitted, when Enki, angry and distraught, the council chamber left, in his heart was Enki smiling. Only he knew where the weapons were hidden, so did Enki think. For it was he, before Enlil to earth had come, who with Abgal, in a place unknown, the weapons did hide.
Because Enki couldn't fly a ship, so he needed a fucking pilot, and the pilot fucking betrayed him.
That Abgal, to the exiled Enlil, the place disclosed, that to Enki was unknown.
They banished him in the exact same cave with the fucking nukes.
When Enki this second secret heard, in his heart a wishful thought he harbored, that after such a long sojourn, the weapon's terror would have evaporated.
Yeah.
Little did Enki expect the long sojourn a calamity as never before known on earth to cause. Thus it was that without Enki needing Enlil to the two heroes, the hiding place disclosed. Those 7 weapons of terror in a mountain they abide, to them Enlil said. In a cavity inside the earth they dwell, with the terror to clad them is required. Then the secret of how the weapons from their deep sleep awaken, Enlil to them did reveal. Before the 2 sons, one of Enlil, one of Enki, to the hiding place departed. Enlil to them words of forewarning said, ere the weapons are used by the Anunnaki must the chariot's place be vacated. The cities must be spared, the people must not perish. In his skyship, Nergal to the hiding place soared. Ninurta by his father was delayed. A word to his son alone, Enlil wished to say, a secret to him alone reveal. About the prophecy of Galzu and the choosing of Yprum to Ninurta he told.
Yep. So 1 second. So he had 7 nuclear weapons, right? And these are written about throughout fucking tons of different religious type books. But they call them a lot of different things, like the weapons of God, the right hand of God. Other people call them different shit and like different Torahs and stuff. But here they're called whatever the fuck, and they produce the evil wind, right? So they thought they would just have evaporated, like not evaporated, like the destruction would go away from them. But they thought that would just be like, oh, like we brought that from Nibiru, like we forgot about that. Like that would just go away. It would be buried and forgotten. But lo and behold, here it is. And they were like, let's go blow this shit up. So he gave them orders to just go target those spaceports. That's exactly what we're talking about here, talking about spaceports, because they wanted to get off the planet. The people did, the humans. Marduk wanted to provide that for people. He was like, I'm going to let these people get off the planet. They were like, nah, the fuck you are, bro. All right, look, we need to go take out all his spaceports and shit because, you know, there's a bunch of them over there. There's some over there in South America, right? So they had to go destroy all these spaceports. Of course, they weren't going to destroy any spaceports where they lived. They lived over in India and Iraq and Iran. They weren't touching none of that shit. That was theirs. They needed that shit. But remember, there was all that shit over in South America. And he had to try to build something in North America, I bet. So they want to go fuck that shit up. And then they just didn't realize what they were about to do. They didn't realize this shit.
Not at all. Hot-headed is Nergal. Make sure that the cities are spared, that Yprum is forewarned.
Abraham is who she's talking about. Yprum is Abraham.
To Ninurta, Enlil said. When Ninurta at the weapons place arrived, Nergal from the cavity had already them brought out. As their Mies from the long slumber he awakened, to each one of the 7 Nergal a task name gave. The one without rival, the first weapon he called.
Here's the names.
The blazing flame, he named the second. The one who with terror crumbles, he called the third.
That one.
Mountain melter, the fourth he called.
Mountain melter.
Wind that the rim of the world seeks, he named the fifth. The one who above and below no one spares.
Oh my God.
Was the sixth.
These sound terrible.
The seventh was with monstrous venom was filled. Vaporizer of living things, he called it.
Oh my God.
With Anu's blessings were the 7 to Nergal and Ninurta given, therewith to destruction wreak.
Wow.
When Ninurta at the place of the weapons of terror arrived, to destroy and annihilate was Nergal ready. I shall kill the son, I will annihilate the father, Nergal with vengeance was shouting. The lands they covet will vanish, the sinning cities I will upheaval, so did Nergal enraged announce. Valiant Nergal, will you the righteous with the unrighteous destroy? So did Ninurta his comrade ask. The instructions of Enlil are clear. To the selected targets, the way I will lead. You behind me will follow. The decision of the Anunnaki to me is known, Nergal to Ninurta said. For 7 days and 7 nights, the signal from Enlil, the two awaited.
Yeah.
It was his intention, when his waiting was completed, Marduk to Babili returned. In the presence of his followers, with weapons armed, his supremacy he declared. 1,736 was the count of Earth years then. On that day, on that fateful day, Enlil to Ninurta the signal sent. To Mount Mashu, Ninurta departed. Behind him, Nergal followed.
Nergal.
The mount and the plain, in the heart of the 4th region, Ninurta from the skies surveyed. With the squeezing in his heart, to Nergal a sign he gave. Keep off, to him he signaled.
Keep off my grass.
When the first terror weapon from the skies Ninurta let loose, the top of Mount Mashu with a flash it sliced off. The mount's innards, in an instant it melted. Above the place of the celestial chariots, the second weapon he unleashed. With a brilliance of 7 suns, the plains, rocks into a gushing wound were made. The earth shook and crumbled. The heavens after the brilliance were darkened. With burnt and crushed stones was the plain of the chariots covered. Of all the forests that the plain had surrounded, only tree stems were left standing.
Only tree stems.
It is
now we know what's that place called? Not the Grand Canyon. Where's that place where the geysers come from?
Yellowstone.
Now, I always said there had to been a volcano there. Now we know what happened to that volcano. They blew it the fuck up because they landed on top of the motherfucker they said before, right next to the big gash that was in the ground. And they also landed next to the big lake, Pacal or whatever fuck down in South America. And then here we hear, Wapacha! She just blew up the motherfucking goddamn mountain in Chile. Blew that motherfucker, Pachow! Melted all that stone, all that black stone all around there, right? Go ahead, baby.
The earth shook and crumbled. The heavens after the brilliance were darkened. With burnt and crushed stones was the plain of the chariots covered. Of all the forest that the plain had surrounded, only tree stems were left standing. It is done, Ninurta from the skyship, his black divine bird words shouted.
Yep.
The control that Marduk and Nabu so coveted, of it they are forever deprived.
Remember, Nabu is his fucking earth kid, his child that was an earthling, half demigod, really. He was demigod. I would call him Hercules, is who I would probably call him. But yeah, so he, Nabu was fucking rolling the world. He was going around kicking everyone's ass. He was probably like Achilles or Hercules, really, just going around fucking people up, leading all the armies of Marduk. And they're like, that's when they said, I have to kill the father and the son. Nabu is the son, right? So they have to kill him. And the father is Marduk, right? So when they say the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, there's whole different times this could possibly be happening right here.
Then to emulate Ninurta, Nergal desired. To be Era, the annihilator, his heart him urged.
Ooh.
Following the king's highway, to the verdant valley of the 5 cities he flew. In the verdant valley where Nabu, the people, was converting, Nergal, as a caged bird to squash him planned. Over the 5 cities, one after the other, Era upon each from the skies a terror weapon sent.
Boom, boom, boom. That's 7 right there. He unleashed all 7.
Well, he had 2 of the other previous.
2 in the other places and 5 on all those cities.
Five. So 5 for 5, 1 for each city. The 5 cities of the valley he finished off. To desolation they were overturned. With fire and brimstones they were they upheavaled. All that lived there to vapor was turned. By the awesome weapons were mountains toppled. Where the sea waters were barred, the bolt broke open. Down into the valley the sea's waters poured. By the waters was the valley flooded. When upon the city's ashes the waters poured, steam to the heavens was rising. It is done, Era his skyship shouted. In Nergal's heart there was no more vengeance. Surveying their evil handiwork, the 2 heroes, by what they saw, were puzzled. By a darkening of the skies, where the brilliances followed, then a storm to blow began. Swirling within a dark cloud, gloom from the skies, an evil wind carried.
Now remember, 1 second, remember that this wasn't Enki and Enlil that did this. These were not the direct children. These were the fucking millennials. They didn't have no fucking clue of anything. They didn't know shit of shit. They were like, oh, we got bombs. Oh, let's go blow them up. And they had no idea that these were nuclear weapons powered by fucking Nibiru crystals made at Nibiru. They were blowing. These were the old bombs for the old days. And they had no idea that these were the bombs that were blowing up their planet and trying to fix their planet fucking tons of times ago. Go ahead, baby. They fucked this shit all up, man.
They sure did. As the day wore on, the sun on the horizon, with darkness it obliterated. At nighttime, a dreaded brilliance skirted its edges. The moon, at its rising, it made disappear. When dawn the next morning came, from the west, from the upper sea, a storm wind began blowing. The dark brown cloud eastward it directed. Toward the settled lands did the cloud spread. Wherever it reached, death to all that lives, mercilessly it delivered. From the valley of no pity, by the brilliances spawned, toward Shumer the death was carried. To Enlil and Enki, Nineveh and Nergal the alarm sounded. Unstoppable the evil wind, death to all delivers. The alarm Enlil and Enki to the gods of Shumer transmitted. Escape, escape! To them all they cried out. Let the people disperse, let the people hide. From their cities the gods did flee. Like frightened birds from their nest escaping they were. The people of the lands by the evil storm's hand were clutched. Futile was the running. Stealthy was the death. Like a ghost the fields and cities it attacked. The highest walls, the thickest walls, like floodwaters it passed. No door could shut it out. No bolt could turn it back.
No Dorkening.
Those who behind locked doors hid inside their houses like flies were felled.
Yep.
Those who to the streets fled, in the streets were their corpses piled up. Cough and phlegm the chests filled, the mouths with spittle and foam filled up. As the evil wind, the people unseen engulfed, their mouths were drenched with blood. Slowly over the lands the evil wind blew. From west to east, over plains and mountains it traveled. Everything that lived behind it was dead and dying. People and cattle, all alike perished. The waters were poisoned. In the fields, all vegetation withered. From Eridu in the south to Sippar in the north, did the evil wind the land overwhelm. Babili, where Marduk supremacy declared, by the evil wind was spared. And that is the end of the 13th tablet.
Insane.
In the 14th tablet, the last tablet of the book, which is quite a bit considerably shorter than the rest of them.
Baby, where's Baby at? It was spared.
Oh, it was spared. Him, the coming of age ruler who declared himself ruler far before he should have, is the only place that was spared. How do you think we got our religion today? He was the one that created the religion before this even happened.
Yeah, man.
And he's the only one that survived this motherfucker.
So far.
So far.
So
what happens in the 14th tablet? The final tablet of this amazing saga.
And How did people survive?
Mm.
Now we're going to discover that there's 13 stories of people that built shit underground and supposedly went underground with these ant people, aka Anunnaki people. Ant, get it? Anunnaki.
Ooh, wordplay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So next week, we're going to hear about Bibili.
Bibili.
Marduk's chosen center survives the calamity.
Oh.
Enki sees it as an omen of Marduk's inevitable supremacy. Enlil ponders the past, fate, and destiny. Accepts Marduk's supremacy, retreats to faraway lands. The brothers bid a sentimental goodbye. Enki sees the past as a guide foretelling the future. He decides to commit all as a record for posterity. Colophon by the scribe and Dubsar. There we go. So next week is the wrap up of this lovely little tale.
You know, who do you guys worship? I don't even know if people really know.
Right now, you're all worshiping Marduk, the personally declared God of all. He declared himself.
But
He's like the son of the son of the son.
But did he win? Did he win because they whooped his ass? They blew up all the spaceships. They killed everybody.
They really did, but
they killed everyone.
He only needed, I guess, one little spot to survive.
He escaped,
and he fucking did it.
Just like there's a dude that could pick anywhere in the world to live, and then he picked Michigan, this spot right here, for some strange reason. It's kind of weird. And it's the center that will survive it all. Watch.
We will survive. So I hope everybody enjoyed Ganja Gospel today. Questions, comments, concerns. What's on your mind?
420.
Is your mind blown? That's what our goal is.
Yeah, it's super, super dope. It's super cool and interesting to find out who is God, when were they God, who did what, when they did what, who was standing on top of the mountain with fucking Noah, Moses, and all those different people, who got killed in what way, and who made who people. Like the no beard thing is a super important part. You can track those people throughout history, and they're all different types. You know, going from Asia and, you know, Polynesia straight to indigenous people. You know, they're all stemming from Cain, is what they say. There's biblical people out there. They talk about the people of Cain didn't survive after the flood. That's only because your Bible tells you so. What's funny is the Bible only covers the Middle East. That's all it covers. It covers like Egypt, Africa, like Africa spot. It covers like Iraq, Iran, you know, Jerusalem area, that whole fucking Middle East area, and a little bit in India. That's all it covers. I always questioned my Sunday school teachers and shit. And I said, didn't God know about the rest of the world? Like, God's God, right? So, like, he didn't know about North and South America. He didn't know about Australia. Did he know about Antarctica? I always would ask these questions. I'm like, how come everything's written about over there? I'm like, didn't he know about England? I mean, that's like the queen of the world kind of thing. I thought when I was a little kid, I thought she was queen of the world because I didn't know about any other kings. They never were.
Well, I mean, yeah, that kind of line of succession is, yeah, that's pretty. England is the largest entity that does kings and queens still. So yeah. It makes sense that we would think that as kids.
So, you know, I would always ask them that. They never had an answer or nothing like that. But, you know, it just seems weird that everyone forgot to write about the story of North and South America or all the other continents. You know, like in the Bible, it's all about this one specific area and spot. A lot of shit happened there for sure.
Yeah. But we realize too, like as we're going through this book, the Bible is conglomerated and pushed several stories together to make the right story to be put in their context.
Exactly.
There's several stories that stem from the one story we've learned in the Bible. There's things bleed in from different areas.
Like if you hear it how we've heard it, where Dumuzi, the story of Jesus going into the underworld or into hell and being brought back out by God and angels and those golem creatures that God created that were not male or female, right? So if you listen to that story, that's a story of Dumuzi. Okay. But then you think, well, here's this Christian one about Mary being a human and God coming into her, and then they create a child that comes into power. Well, here you could argue that that's a story of Marduk and Banta or whatever the fuck her name is, and Nudie Meg or Nutty Meg or whatever the fuck his kid's name is. So that would be Marduk being full Anunnaki, the son of Lord Enki, having a child with the creation that he found the creation at a fountain. He was like, oh, she's hot. Oh, she bent over. She got fat. And then he banged her and made a human child, right? But more Anunnaki, I guess, than human. And that human started taking over the world, started taking over all the civilizations, whooping that ass. He said he had to fight gods and regular people. And so to find out who that could possibly be in our Bible, could that be Jesus? Like they said, they prosecuted this dude. They hit him with the 7 weapons and shit. They wanted to kill him and the Father. So, when you look at it, could Marduk have reigned the supreme God and been talking about his son being like executed? Will his son come back as the Holy Spirit, as Dumuzi promised to return one day? So it's weird how they crisscross. Mm-hmm. And it's so strange how scholars read these stories, because in Jesus's day, it said that Jesus knew the Anunnaki flew in spaceships and came here. Like in those days, they knew the gods came in spaceships. They didn't they weren't here. They weren't like a thing that they were invisible and then would transform into a person in front of you.
I wonder if that's like a great reset we don't know about. How we talk about great resets of in the 20s, 30s, how we had so much electricity and so much happening electronically and technologically that now there's we're so behind from what we were. What if, that was something that was a great reset back then that, they needed to, the evil wind would have been the great reset actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I totally forgot what you were saying before that, but I knew where I was going with it. I blanked.
Oh. I'm just saying though, like when this evil wind came, people went underground. That's what happened. Either they fucking died in their house. The Great Reset is monetary in nature. Of course you do. So that's when they wipe people out. And then they have only children left. Children and a few pristine adults left on the planet to teach these sheeple the new fucking thing. So it's like, here's this old shit, right? But they said, we're going to put this deep down in the planet in times far away for people to find. And then what happened? A flood happened. They weren't expecting that. And then it got buried even deeper, the original set. So they're like, all right, we'll make new tablets and we'll put them in this library. That library got sacked by the Alexandria people, right? And then they became the Alexandria library. But then your Catholics burn that motherfucker down. And it says they burned all that shit. No, they stole all the shit. They stole it all because they wanted to make sure they knew what was happening. They were like, what are you talking about, aliens and shit? Because in those days, they wrote about that stuff. Who taught us what their names really were, what we called them, where they were from, how they got here. What was a fucking flying chariot? What did they really have? You know what I'm saying? That's why when you look at those old paintings from like 1500s, 1300s and shit, they literally painted spaceships in the sky. Why would they do that unless they fucking saw them? They knew what was there. They knew who Mary was. Mary came from the spaceship. You know what I'm saying? That's what they were saying. Like, hey, look, Jesus is Jesus, baby. That's when he says, like, Jesus always looks in the sky and he's like, my Father, hey, Father. Like, why wouldn't he look out in the crowd? His mom's out in the crowd. Why is his dad in the sky? Y'all think that the dude's in the cloud? No, man, he's in a spaceship. He's saying, man, my dad's from space. My mom's like right there. She's one of the humans, peoples. And that's why he says, my father's not your father, right? Because what if he's looking at all these people.
Yeah, dude, like I don't have the same father as you guys. Like you're earthlings, I'm not that.
Well, you know,
He's not that.
Well, you got Dumuzi. It was Dumuzi, right? So he's looking at the crowd, and at the time, there's all these other people. The fallen angels came and mixed with all the people. So it's like, man, my father, man, we ain't got the same dad, bro. You're Satan's children. You're Azazel's. You're this dude's. You're Michael's. He's supposed to be good with his big sword and shit, but he's slaying bitches. He's looking at all these different people of all different colors, all different nationalities. You know what I'm saying? And the nationality is simply the different Anunnaki that created them. You know what I mean? So that's what the whole thing was. Like, he's like, yeah, my dad's not your dad. My dad created the primitive workers. You know what I'm saying? That's what that they couldn't be none of those people there. None of the primitive workers were there. Right? We're talking civilized man. So therefore, we have all kinds of different people. Wow. What were the Egyptians? The Egyptians were made by Ningazita, right? Ningazita made all those damn Egyptians. And then Ra stepped in and was like, no, follow me. And then Ningazita was like, all right, I'm going to go practice numbers over here. And he became the numbers guy, the mathematician. So Ningazita made all those damn Egyptian type people, right? So they were brownish in color, brown and gold. They were brown and gold. And then all the other people were made by all these other damn people. So it's just wild to hear it all going down. Marduk wants to reign supreme because, you know, all the other gods are getting old and tired. They're like, yeah, I don't really feel like fucking with these people. Like, I don't want to be in charge no more. I just want, can I like walk through the woods? You know, that's all they want to do. They want to just chill. The weed's real good now. Everything. What's really interesting, though, is you hear these tablets were written. Yeah, this book wasn't written that too long ago, but the tablets that they deciphered this shit from, and many scholars have deciphered it and said that this is what they say. So
this is like the most accurate depiction of these is this.
This shit's written fucking so long ago, dude. So long ago. And they're literally telling us that they, people from the stars, gave us our way of life. Taxes, worship, marriage, divorce. Going to grocery stores.
They were talking about it, this tablet, about how things were getting done. Like, you know, the marriages and divorces and all of it. Everything was happening. Everything was starting. This is the start of it all.
There wasn't government, though. There was kingship.
Yeah,
there was kingship. I don't know. I'd kind of rather be under a kingship, wouldn't you? But then you get killed by the fucking soldiers.
You know, I don't know. Do we have to be ruled?
You have to, because that's the only way to keep us in order. That's what they know.
It's true though.
If you
As a
don't
mass,
keep this in
us-
order, we'll
we're-
make a spaceport and try to fly away. We'll try to escape the planet.
They'd be like, "Oh no, stay down there. You stay down there."
Exactly what it is. They're like, hey, these fuckers are trying to escape. And I guarantee, like the Russians, they said when they try to go off the Earth and go to the moon or Mars or some shit, that through telepathically in their mind, they all got the same voice that said, go back to Earth. You are not ready yet for space. Go back. And they all went back and they never went back out to space. This is why they ain't been out there. If you ask them, they haven't left and gone anywhere except for the space station. And then we were the ones that were first able to go to the moon. They would have beat us by a long shot because they'll fly a Coke can to the fucking moon. They don't give a fuck. As long as that bitch holds air and can land, they don't give a fuck what else happens. Hit it with a fucking wrench. Ask them. But that's a true fact about the Russians. So they had telepathically. Well, the humans are Americans. When we try to go out there, we had all these psychological things happening to us that they were reporting. That they made special helmets that blocked all that shit so that we could fly out into space. Those are reported white papers that you guys can go look up and shit. But so that's really cool that possibly we blocked all that supernatural telepathic messaging and we just went out there. Or we're all in charge or all controlled by Anunnaki still that look just like us that are laughing. Ha ha ha, TwizTD RootZ is so right, but we're not going to tell them. And, they are allowing us to do space travel. Or possibly King Anu died, Enlil took leadership, or possibly maybe a dick biting happened again in some other dude's king. And now we're allowed to go forth and prosper. Or maybe our waters have been so muddied, we're muggles. Mud bloods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe our blood has been so muddied, intermingled, that now we're ready for space. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what the actual underlying fact is of why before would they not let the people go to space? They were a creation. I understand. We were supposed to be here working and shit. But now we go into space. We're allowed off world and shit. We're not. We don't go to Nibiru though, and that was, I think, the big secret of 2020. Not letting people go outside because there's too much celestial in the sky shit happening in 2020 that they didn't want you to see. They didn't want people to see. They figured, let's scare these motherfuckers. Oh, look, they want to riot. That's cool. Let them riot. Why would they let people riot? You know how fast we could have wiped them motherfuckers out? Stopped those riots like that. We could have fucked that shit up. Please, give me a few of my buddies in the Marine Corps. We'd have fucked that whole fucking crowd of people up. Trust me. Quick in time. What'd that do? That kept everyone looking down. Why would rioters look up in the sky? They're going to keep their eyes straight or down at everything they're doing. They're not going to be looking up. They're going to be waiting for tear gas or fucking bombs dropping at people that, coming at them from cops or something stupid, right? They let shit happen. So that was just a big distraction so we wouldn't be staring at the skies. When Nibiru came back through, imagine if everyone knew that we could just fly out in space and it was cool. No one owns space. We could just fly out in space if you're able to, right? No one owns it. Like they say you can't go to Antarctica. That's cool. But no one owns space. You can literally fly right the fuck out there if you're able to, right? Imagine if everyone knew that. Imagine if we knew Nibiru was flying by. You could go live there and have everlasting life. Imagine if we would all try it. We would try it. It's right there. It's so close. It was right in our sky. Big as fuck. It flew right past us. But they took away everybody's thought pattern or knowledge of it. So no one even attempted it. Maybe some people did. Maybe there's people missing off the planet that actually built the little spaceship and flew out there. That figured out that the electromagnetic secret of fucking space flight. You know what I'm saying? How the fuck you build a little bubble around yourself. Remember that movie? What was that movie? We just watched it. The Space Travelers. What was that one? Remember the little kids? They built that garbage can spaceship and flew out in space. Travelers. Was it Travelers?
Oh, I don't remember. We've watched so many things recently.
River Phoenix and all that back in the day. That shit was so good. But yeah, you can do that shit. They do it. Scientists do it. Go check it out. There's white papers out there. The truth is way bigger than they tell you, but it's not. What they write is not complete lies. It's not complete lies. I hear like, so if like you're trying to tell people, you know, you're like, oh, I don't lie. So you're gonna beat around the bush and just not actually tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna tell everything that kind of sounds like fits the story, but you're not actually gonna tell the point where the good shit is. You know what I'm saying? That's what like a really good liar would do. You know what I'm saying? You're going to tell all the good juicy points, but not point right at it. Like, hey man, we're from a different world and shit. Like all the stuff that's written so far is like, yeah, that shit happened in stories and stuff, but like they're totally different people. There was tons of different people. Multiple fucking situations happen in multiple different areas that they don't even talk about. Like there was a whole people were created called the primitive worker, slave race. Who are they? Where are they? Did they get buried by the flood? Or did they go up on top of mountains and survive? Like what happened? Like why isn't the truth told to us? There's mud floods that covered our whole reality got covered. So imagine this. She was talking about the resets. She talked about in this one, all these areas were fully populated. So populated that they had full cities of glory. They had kings and all these. Why would you have a king and no fucking people, no fucking lavish cities and castles like we all know them to have, right? Spoiled little rich bitches with all their fucking shit, right? Armies and shit coming in their chariots, big fucking lions, gathering all the animals. They're having all the fucking fun and shit. This is what they're talking about, like 1,000 years since the time count of people. We can go back to the time and see what was happening in the planet. It wasn't like cavemen and shit, right? The cavemen were the primitive workers that were walking around trying to bang each other and make kids, right? Until that really went down. They fixed that problem, right? So you got all this shit going down in the planet and stuff, which is fucking cool as fuck. I forgot where I was going with that. But all that shit's going down. All these kings, all the queens, all the cool shit we watch in movies and shit about ancient fucking times, right? 1,000 years of the time count of man. And then here comes this evil wind, one of the great resets, wipes everything out. Here it is though. They dropped bombs on space ports, blew those up with nuclear weapons that caused havoc on the environment, right? Caused a big storm. That big storm with the wind, how does the wind go on our planet? West to east, right? And it caused the storm to gather up all the contamination from that spot and bring it east. And that fucked everybody up because it just wiped them all out. Now, what it didn't do, though, it didn't vaporize the landscape where all the people were, where it got them sick. It killed them, right? Where they dropped the bombs. Oh, it obliterated, blah, shit, blah, blah, blah. It fucked that shit all up. But when it went across and it got to the cities where all the people were, all it did was make them sick and killed everybody. Killed all the oceans, or not the ocean, I'm sorry. On the land, it killed the water sources, the rivers, the lakes, fucked them all up, right? Could never kill the oceans because that's fucking huge. Killed all the people across the lands. All the buildings were there. They were still there. All the technology, all the beautiful shit, just all the people, all the animals died. Now, here's the thing, though. Nana Nima, whoever her name was at the time, Ningazita or Naminui, something like that, she promised that that calamity would never happen to her people ever again. Now, we go across the world, and we find all these underground there's whole cities carved into the earth where, it shows where they put people down there and they survived. Now, this calamity that they're talking about here, it lasted for 70 years. 70 years or 150 years. We're going to read in the 14th tablet how long this evil wind lasted. Now, it went through and killed everybody, right? But people survived. The people of Abraham, where'd they go? They went underground with the ant people. And where we find this shit at? It's in Turkey. Where we find Abraham and the Muslims at afterwards? Right there. Right there. What do we know? What do we know after the 1,000 year mark? What do we know? We didn't hear much after 1,000 years in the history because it picks up about 1,700 years, 1,600 years BCE or whatever, before Christ everlasting. Look, check it out. And then people start happening again. Where the fuck were they before that? No one ever talks about this evil wind wiped every motherfucker out. A great reset happened. They told the history, and then people came out of the ground. We got in Africa, they're talking about, and in indigenous people of Americas talk about their history, their creation story is them coming out of a hole, out of the darkness into this world. What the fuck? What does that tell you? That tells you people were underground for so fucking long that they forgot, or maybe people didn't even know. They didn't know the Anunnaki were going to go blow each other up. You know what I'm saying? That was an Anunnaki thing. We wouldn't tell our fucking kids that we're going to fucking, I don't know, go do something fucking naughty. You know what I'm saying? Why would they tell the humans they're going to go do some shit? But, some of them were like, hey, man, they're going to go fuck some shit up. Hey, there's some shit coming. They're ringing the bells. We got to go on the ground. We got to go on the ground. They all go on the ground. So Enlil actually, I believe, was the one who created this shit underground. He was probably the one that was like, hey, yo, we need to dig and shit because there's something coming. Galzu came to me in a dream vision and shit. He was like, yo, there's something going to happen. You need to pick one of the righteous. It's cool how Enlil got to pick this time. So he got to pick who's going to be the people who's going to stay and be alive. So people stayed underground for so long that they forgot that their granddaddy had gone through this thing where like a flood came and then like people came from the sky and started taking all our women. And then they were having kids that were goddamn the size of mountains. And then all of a sudden this smell, evil wind happened and started killing everybody, melting their fucking skin off them and shit, getting boils all over their faces and shit. Black plague happened, and they went underground. They forgot these things. They came out to this new world. We have indigenous, Native Americans, their creation story is in recent years, thousands of years ago, but I'm talking not their real time. Mayans were the real times back then, like the Aztecs, Mayans, those first ones, the Namus or whatever they were. Those were the first ones, the people of Cain. These are still the same people, but they went underground And they even talk about it coming out of the ground. The African people talk about coming out of a hole in the ground. Everyone else talks about coming out of the ground. And here we are into this beautiful, lush world. Well, what happened? What happens when nuclear radiation annihilates a place? It takes a certain amount of years for the earth to heal itself. You can't just blow it away. We're going to blow it away to the next spot and fuck that all up. No, in the mile radius or whatever it is, 100,000 miles or whatever it is, that stays irradiated and fucked up. There'll be storms in that spot. Go look at in Russia and shit. And it took a certain amount of time for the earth to fix itself. And that entire time, the human population and all the Anunnaki, everybody else, stayed the fuck underground. They were underground the entire fucking time. Why would they be underground? The air was bad. The air was bad. They couldn't put it. I'm bald!
Oh, shit!
I'm bald! God damn it, where'd my hair go? They couldn't put all these people on spaceships. Why wouldn't they just put people on spaceships? They were afraid of mutiny. I think they were so afraid of people going out into the space. We got to dig deep into that one. Why were they so afraid? They could easily put all these fucking people on a spaceship, a family or two from here or there, a whole bunch of animals, and just hover up here for a while and just sit up in the clouds.
I think they were really adamant on keeping just at least that one thing from them, because through all the times and annals, like somebody kept giving them more information, kept giving them more knowledge.
They're just like us.
More, yeah. And it's like the main two, or the main one, really, one of the main, whatever. He's like, no. That's not what the deal is. We can't give them everything of us. They can't be us.
Yeah,
that's,
long life and space travel is the two things they kept from us.
Yeah, but that was like drawing the line. We can't, like, we're showing them the stars. We're showing them how to make things. We're showing them metals. We're showing them tools. We're showing them how to farm. We're showing them how to meat. And all
now they
shit.
know sex feels good.
Yeah, we were showing them all of this stuff and teaching them all of this stuff. For God's sakes, if we teach them anymore, they're going to fucking rule the universe, not the world.
Oh, yeah, Great Reset. That was the whole mud flood, I believe, back in the time. Now, after this period where the evil wind comes, is what I believe, motherfuckers came out of the ground. They came out of the ground with the Anunnaki. They were giants. There was other people that were giants. They were still fallen angels, Nephilim, all them other motherfuckers. They were still here. They just crawled out of holes or came down from their spaceships, whatever they had to facilitate that little calamity. They survived it. This was not to wipe out humans. This was actually an accident. It said it was fate. Galzu did, but it was an accident. They didn't want it to fuck up everybody. They didn't want it to kill everyone. They just meant for it to blow these spaceports up so they couldn't use them. No humans could get off the planet, because that's what Marduk was about to do. Remember, his son was human, right? He was like Hercules. So they all come out, and then our kind of, I guess you would call, New Testament kind of happens, is where we're kind of getting into now. I call all of it really Old Testament until sometime in the way future, because we know about the Roman army, about 3000 BCE, but way before that they were there forever. And now we hear Marduk talking, or they were talking about Morgan or whatever it was. You can go and look at the history of certain places, and you'll read Earth Creatures. You'll read that there was giants that founded these certain places, like England, right? Like Italy, right? Two giant brothers or whatever the fuck it was. And that's these damn Anunnaki they're talking about, is where they went and settled and started creating people. So the people that they were creating, just like our children, might be smaller than us. They might be bigger than us, right? Well, if you're a giant and you're having children, They might be bigger than you. They might be a little smaller than you. So think of it that way. And it went on and on like that forever. And even to this day, there's still fucking huge people on this planet. But there is all these buildings forever. All this architecture, always here. They built it all, right? It used to all power and work on frequency. That's why I've been showing people the frequency. So you get into it, try to figure it out, try to understand it, because that's what we're here for. Master energy. Then came a mud flood, right? Quite possibly, maybe Nibiru came through again. Caused some earthquakes. We're not quite there yet, but it comes through every 3,600 years. All it's got to do is be close enough to fucking shake us a bit. Liquefaction can happen. So if you look up the liquefaction and the last mud flood, there was supposedly a planetary race that ruled this planet, and it was called Tartaria, which would connect all the Anunnaki civilizations together, ruled by different fucking rulers of Tartaria, right? So it said that all these buildings were here and theirs, and then the supposed mud flood happened, which buried them. Now, what if it was... So I've heard rumors and tales that our size people went underground and hid. What if it was a war? Giants versus our size people. We use some kind of a frequency weapon or something, which liquefaction the earth and fucking buried everybody, killed all the giants, or something to that effect. What if some shit like that happened? But in those times, like 18 something, 17, probably like 1795, there was a great reset. And there was all these times where there was no fucking people. There was like only a few adults here or there, but tons of babies, baby factories, orphanages. There was orphan trains around the fucking world. They went everywhere. They shipped kids to everywhere. In fucking Australia, they became parishes. In fucking India, they became the Patels. In fucking in England, they became like the Masons. In America, they became all these fucking different names, dude. There's tons. You go look that shit up. What's up, Buzzville? We're about to get out of here and shit.
It's sunny now.
It's a little sunny.
Slightly
So I'm gonna
sunny.
go.
I didn't realize I wasn't in camera anymore.
I'm gonna go spreading my balls around the town. Jingle balls, jingle balls. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about these fantastic things that were written, and try to figure them out in celestial times. Like, what were they looking at, and is it what we're seeing now kind of times, and trying to figure it out in time frames, because it's perfect how it says 1,000 years since the count of man. Well, what the fuck time are we in? That's perfect. So that was in 1,000, right? So when we talk about we're 2,000 something, right? But it's AD. We're going to get to this bullshit coming and how they switched it up, and whose death are we really talking about here?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today with Ganja Gospel.
Yeah,
learning truth, filling the pews, smoking your weed, getting enlightened.
Until next time, everybody.
Until next
time. For the
time.
last tablet in this fantastic tale of fantastic beasts and where to find them, because that's what it all is about. And we will find the feathered dragon here soon.
We are all fantastic beasts, by the way, along with many others that were created.
All the melanations out there, stand up, and we're one tribe, we're one people. you know, unless you're Anunnaki. If you're Anunnaki, stand out, man. Just let me know some frequency. Let me know some frequency secrets. I want to know some little magic. Hocus pocus.
Let's do it.
Hocus pocus.
Let us smoke us.
What is the plant of everlasting life?
They don't
Can
give any kind of hints there, really, other than underground.
I want to go in the frequency crystal garden.
The
Can I
land
go
of
there?
was it Tillman? Tillman?
Yeah, the land of Tillman is where the
The
underground
underground caves
That's
that
where the
he
cave-
entered,
that's where
found,
he entered.
and
That's
somewhere
the gates
down
of
there
Hades.
was. So what the fuck
Oh.
the snake did with it, we don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It was pulled, it was uprooted. I'm sure that is exactly why there is no more Noah. He probably perished because motherfucker took his plant.
Well, no, Noah has already eaten it and has lived.
I thought he had to eat it and sustain himself with it.
Oh, did he?
I was under the impression that he had to sustain himself with it. That's how he was able to get to
Why the
every
fuck
life.
would he?
You know,
uproot
I
it?
mean, so that he could have it.
Maybe
he
it's
was a greedy motherfucker.
I bet you it's the water lotus.
Mm.
That's why the Japanese and Chinese got the lotus.
Interesting,
flower.
though. That is another interesting mystery that's been unearthed for us. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely Sunday. We will see you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Pieces.
Hey, where's my mouse? There it is.
Mousy, where's a cat?